because you don't have to not do things. You're time blocking. You're putting it on your habit tracker. You're allowing time to get off of work, off of that time block to go do the things that you enjoy. Hello and welcome to the Encourager Podcast, where we have encouraging conversations to help you joyfully harmonize your home and work life. I'm your host, Rebecca Scott. I'm a wife, mother, designer, coach, and author. I'm here to help encourage and empower you to confidently make decisions that work for you and your stage of life, whatever that might be. Hello, Encouragers. On this week's podcast, I want to talk to you about one of my favorite subjects, as we all know, productivity. But what I like to say about it is that productivity doesn't have to be more hustle or getting more done. However, I do love getting more done, but I've really been anti-hustle for a long time now because it doesn't produce anything other than a bunch of stress. So what I like to call productivity is getting the things done that matter. And this week, I'm going to tell you about my top 5 habits that really help me to be productive. Again, not to hustle, but to be productive and get the things done that matter. What if I told you that the best productivity hacks don't require apps or fancy systems? They're as simple as sticky notes, a timer, and a little discipline. I didn't say a lot of discipline. I said a little discipline, and I know you guys are capable of that. Productivity doesn't have to be complicated. Just a few simple, consistent habits can free your mind and multiply your impact. Free your mind and multiply your impact. Okay, let's get started. Habit number 1 for me is checking email only twice a day. Now, for some of you, that is a big gasp moment. And for some of you, you're like, I go a couple days without checking mine. So wherever you land on this, for me, this is what works for right now. I also only have one email. So that means the school emails come to it. My work emails come to it. I haven't decided yet if that is broke. I like it to be all in one spot. So I'm not required to check multiple different platforms. Also because I'm always doing that with our social media for our 2 brands. And so for me, that is what works. What I started doing was only checking my email at 11 a.m. and I check my email about 2 p.m. with these 2 caveats. Number 1, I do look at it at about 9 o'clock and I just get rid of any junk and I look to see if anything is on fire, but I don't respond to anything. I just look and then I'm like, oh, and if something is on fire, then I will respond to that. But I look, so I just have a general idea, is anybody waiting on anything from me? Otherwise, throw out the trash and then the rest of the items, I know I will attack at 11. And that I only allow myself like maybe 3-4 minutes. That's it. Okay. Then I truly check it at 11. Answering anything I need to answer. Then I put it away, get back to doing whatever on my block for the day. And then at 2 p.m., I take a look. That gave people chances to respond or whatever that looks like. And then that is it. And then number 2, sometimes in the evening, I have to check it for more of the school-related items. But for the most part, for work-wise, I only check my email twice a day. And here's why it is brilliant. First of all, when I first started, I made this phone call to a friend of mine at SDSU, which is a local university here, and he was big in the entrepreneur field. And I said, Tim, I want to hire a CEO. And he was like, Becca, you are the CEO. I'm like, I know, but I don't want to do it anymore. I do not want to check my email for 3 to 4 hours a day and then only have a little bit of time to do the sewing. And he said, okay, well, let's do a little exercise this couple of next days, and then you give me a call back. He said, write down what you are doing during that email time that's taking you so long or whatever you think is the CEO time. And I want you to write down all the things that you like doing and all the things that you don't like doing. He said, and just be completely honest about it, which I really treasured that he was like, don't lie. Tell me what you do and don't like. So I did that. Called him up, told him the things I don't like doing, told him the things I do like doing. And after reading these 2 lists, by the way, this was like 15 years ago, he said, oh, you need an office manager, someone to order the supplies, someone to fill in the spreadsheets, someone to help with the seamstresses if they're missing parts. Like I needed an office manager, not a CEO. So I could still make the large decisions that needed to be made in my business, but I wouldn't have to spend 3 to 4 hours on email, also just talking to customers. So that's what I did. That was one of my, I think like my second or third hire was an office manager. The first one is a tax person and should always be. I'm just throwing that out there. So that brought me to eventually to a phase where I really didn't have to check my email, but twice a day because I knew things were running smoothly because I had some help involved. Even if you do not have help involved, ask yourself, is this possible? And what I did in the beginning, so that would be less of a blow to the people who were used to me responding quickly, is I had an automatic responder that said, Hey, this is Becca. I'm prioritizing my time blocking right now. As you know, I love sewing and being with my children, so that's my priority right now, but I will respond to emails at 11 and 2 p.m. If this is an emergency, feel free to call the studio at blah, 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 right? Guess how many people called the studio? No one, because none of them were purse emergencies, okay? I have yet to see it. Well, I've done a few purse emergencies. I once drove to a gas station once with my sewing machine and fixed a purse. That was a purse emergency, but that's the most extreme in all the years of doing business. So if you need a little buffer, feel free to set up your email reminder to say just that. I'll take it one layer deeper here. My customer care gal is Nicole. I love her dearly. We've been doing business together for 10 years. She's worked for me. And she listens to all the customer questions, acquisitions, tracking info, anything like that, right? Her automatic responder responds to them immediately and says, hey, I'm a mom of 3. I'm prioritizing doing all the things like running around and chasing them, but I will get back to your email with all the details you need as quickly as possible. And then she checks them in the evening after she is done working as a preschool provider, director actually, and with her kiddos. And I have not lost a sale because of that. I mean, that I'm aware of, but it works. And people are so kind about it. Like, oh, I just love to see that you're prioritizing those things. And it's not that we do not care. That is not it. It's just we want to answer them fully, not just have these email conversations. We want a really good email back that says, here's your tracking number. Here's the fabric you were looking for. So she gathers the information that she needs and able to be able to respond with the answers rather than just continuing the conversation back and forth 20 or so times. So hopefully that gave you a little bit of perspective today on checking your email. Even if you're running a retail company or you're running a lot of customers through it, it has worked for us, and I do not believe that it has stung us very many times at all. Ask yourself, what would happen if you trusted yourself to check your email just 2 times a day? And you can baby step it, you guys. If you want to do 3 times, go for it. Remember, all these things, when you're asking these questions to yourself, when I say in the podcast, ask yourself, please answer them as much as possible and put it on our Instagram. We want to know, what are the answers that you guys are doing? Because it encourages all of us to borrow and collaborate and go, wait, that did work for you. I love when we get to have those conversations online with one another. Habit number 2 is my weekly agenda sheet with those top 3 priorities in the bottom quarter. Now, you've heard me talk about my agenda sheet. It's actually a free resource on the encouragerpodcast.com. It is my way of not having to have a planner. I threw my planner away. We also have a very provocative podcast called Why I Threw My Planner Away. I think it is. And what I do is a sheet, and then this sheet serves as my planner, if you will, for the week. And then I get to throw it away at the end of the week while I start my new one. And I have loved it. I've been practicing it for several years now. So on my weekly agenda, in the corner, that's how it is for me, there are my top 3 priorities. So when I reflect on Sunday nights, what's going to happen in the coming week, I pick my top 3 priorities. You've heard me say this before in the podcast, but sometimes my top 3 priorities, one of them might involve an actual family priority and not a work priority. Now, that's up to you. I mean, you can do 3 work priorities and 3 family priorities. I combine the 2 of them. So sometimes I do get up to 4 priorities, but usually it's about 3 priorities. When I have this on my weekly agenda, my productivity for the week circles around those 3 priorities. I start with those. I will finish with those. And here's the secret sauce. When I have narrowed it to what the priorities are, guess who starts looking at them on Monday morning? I do. Guess who gets them finished because that was the priority? I do. Guess how quickly I finish them? Sometimes as early as Wednesday, because I reverse engineer. Everything else has to be after these 3 priorities. I cannot tell you enough how much more productive you will be when you have narrowed down what are the most important tasks for me to accomplish this week, to move the ball forward for this week, and to make an impact on the week after that because you finished it. So when I put these on my weekly agenda, I get them done. And sometimes I don't get them done by Wednesday. That would be on the really awesome weeks. Sometimes it takes until Friday. And then if I don't get it done, I can push it to the next week. But it's a clue for me that if I didn't get it done, then I look at the week and go, what happened? And usually what happens, I didn't break it down into enough smaller tasks. I just took the whole task. And so then that's a clue for me for the next week to break it down into 2 things I could do the following week instead of just looking at it and going, I don't even know where to start. So I need to break it down a little bit more. Ask yourself, what are the 3 things that would make this week successful? Now notice, I didn't say when you were going to do them, how you were going to do them. I just want you to reflect, what are 3 things that would make this week successful? Then write them down. If that looks like a planner for you, awesome. If that looks like an agenda sheet, awesome. If that looks like a sticky note on your fridge, that works as well. But what are the 3 things that will make your week successful so that you can be more productive this week? Habit number 3 that keeps me super productive is time blocking. Oh man, this is one of my favorite subjects. And especially one of my favorite things to talk about when I coach people is time blocking. I love to know how they are spending their weeks so that we can practice some time blocking. And what they're always amazed by is that the time blocking is not about being super disciplined and only staying to what's in the blocks. It's about picking what you enjoy and making sure they also fit within your week. And you know what's going to happen when, so that you can, first of all, be super productive. And second of all, get done with it so you can do the things that you enjoy even more. Okay? Time blocking, I love it. A little caveat here. I also love this phrase, and I want you to think about it as you're listening to the podcast today. One of my productivity hacks, obviously, is time blocking, but that is because I time everything. And what I mean by that is every time I do something new, or for the second time, I go, it's interesting. That took us about 2.5 hours. I'm not lying about the time. I'm not editing it quick. I'm not judging it quick. I'm making an observation that meeting, that project, that thing lasted about 2.5 hours. Now I just know. Sometimes I can write it down. Sometimes I just remember it, but it allows me to know the next time something like this similar comes up, I don't have to say, I have no idea where we would fit that in because I didn't know how long it would take. I do have a general idea of how long it will take. And that helps me a lot with time blocking. So when I have learned to time things, pretty much everything, just ask my family, it has allowed me to be much more productive when I'm thinking about time blocking because I know approximately how long things take to do. Here's why you need to time block, because focus multiplies when you batch tasks together. So time blocking is putting together blocks of time where you're going to do similar tasks together so you can make more progress during that time. So for example, you're going to check your emails at 11 a.m. and you're going to check your emails at 2 p.m. I'm making that up. That's what it is for me. What would it be for you? I'm going to sew on Wednesday afternoons from about 1 until 5 p.m. I'm sewing during that time. I'm not checking email at the 2 p.m. time because I am sewing during that block. I'm going to have meetings on Thursdays from 9 till about noon. I'm not sewing during those hours. I'm doing meetings during those hours. So I approach the day differently. I plan differently because I know that chunk of time, that time block is for that task. And what happens is that you start to group similar things together and you can get a ton of focus and a ton of momentum because they are all similar and you can accomplish them without your brain going in so many different positions. So I'm going to give you an example of some time blocking for my week. I will keep it overarching so it's very simple. I could go into grave detail, but nobody wants to know the grave detail. But I want you to think about your week. So for me, Monday is like high production. I get all of the purses back that are cut and I need to serge all of them and make kits for all of them. I need to ship that day and get supplies ready for seamstresses. So Monday is just super high production for work. There's not a lot that's going to be happening via email or communication on the computer because I have to concentrate on doing that. On Tuesday, it's all about content creation in the morning. So sometimes it's creating a podcast or possibly recording it, or it might just be writing it. And then it's recording a ton of videos for both the brands. That's what Tuesday is about. It's just a lot of video content. So what does that mean? Hair and makeup day, right? Wednesdays, in the morning, I'm going to do all of my errands, both for my business and for my family. I meet with all the seamstresses. I get my groceries. I do any of my appointments on Wednesday mornings. And then Wednesday afternoon is fit and finish. I love that time. It's my hands are on the purses. I'm getting to see every last stitch in them. I'm getting to see all the cool creations customers came up with. And then Thursday is the meeting day. And then Friday is the catch-up day. Anything that I missed, because I'm human as well, or anything that I want to do, like overarching dreaming, is also for Friday. So I call Fridays catch-up and creative time. Like, I want to discover that new pattern. Let me take a look at that, sketch it out a little bit further, experiment with a couple fabrics, maybe look at my zipper drawer. I love Fridays. We all do. Fridays for me are catch-up and creative time. When I started really dialing in what happens when, especially because I am a manufacturer, like I'm a manufacturer of a handcrafted business, there is no way I could get done as much as I have been able to get done or grow the business to the size I've been able to grow it if I hadn't practiced blocking. And that came with time, but it's one of my favorite subjects. So if you're ever interested in coaching with me for time blocking, it will drastically change how you operate in a week and how you build your businesses and your families. Seriously, time blocking is where it's at. It's one of my favorite subjects, and I love talking to people about it. This episode of The Encourager is brought to you by Rebecca Scott Designs, where we make custom purses and accessories designed by you for the life you actually live. From fabrics and linings to leathers and 20 plus styles, every detail is your choice. Each piece is handmade right here in South Dakota, where we believe beauty and function should go hand in hand. Visit designyourownbag.com to create your own custom bag and use code ENCOURAGER for $10 off your purchase. Ask yourself, where can I guard 90 minutes for deep work? And the reason I phrase it like that is because if the whole idea of a whole week time blocked is a little overwhelming for you, or like, I don't want that even, then I want you to think about just 90 minutes. That's an hour and a half. Where in your week can you take 90 minutes and treat it as just as sacred as possible to do some deep work? So if you're a writer, maybe it's for writing. If you need to create content for your brand, if you need to deep clean your home because that's a priority for you, where in the week can you reserve 90 minutes for your practice of time blocking and you could do this deep work? And when you do that for 6 weeks, and I'm only talking 90 minutes a week, but when you've practiced that for 6 weeks, you're like, wow, that is sacred time. I don't ever miss it. That is the time I do X, Y, Z. You'll really see why time blocking is important, even if you just do it 90 minutes each week. Try it out, okay? I would suggest this. In those 90 minutes, make it something that you have wanted to accomplish but could never find the time for, right? This is where you would dream big dreams. This is where you reserve that 1%, 10%, only up to 80%. Remember, we don't go to 100% because that's perfection and that's really tough, but 80% is still excellent. Where could you do that writing thing you've always wanted to do, starting that new business, starting that nonprofit, raising or teaching your children school? Like, what could you do in that 90-minute block that would be more attuned with who you've wanted to become and how you've wanted to be? Habit number 4 that makes me super productive is my habit tracker. And this one I've been practicing probably the least amount of time of all of the habits here, but man, this one is impactful. What gets tracked gets done. This is so true. One of my favorite books and why I started doing the habit tracker was the James Clear book, Atomic Habits. I highly recommend it. We'll provide a link in the show notes here for Atomic Habits because it's on our Amazon page and it gives us a small kickback. This book. Now, I always listen to the audio version, but then I had to buy the hard copy too because they have a couple of resources and exercises in there that are really good. But we have a habit tracker on the encouragerpodcast.com. It's a free resource. Go and grab it. I print it off monthly, and then off to the left, I write the habits that I'm going to try for that month. They're not always the same habits. Sometimes the habits change quarter to quarter, or from year to year, or from week to week. It kind of depends on what I'm working at. But when I started tracking my habits, that's when I started noticing how dialed in I could get about projects or self-care or family habits. For example, when I started my burpee challenge, I think it was 2020 or 2021, that was the first experience that I had after reading the James Clear book, Atomic Habits. I decided a burpee challenge. And I've been doing challenges since forever. I love like push-up challenge for 30 days or whatever. But this burpee challenge, I wanted to do it for a year. I wanted to see if I could commit to something for a year that was fitness-minded, that could be accomplished in under 10 minutes or so. So the rules were that I had to do 25 burpees every single day, no matter what. Some days I did far more than that because it was part of the workout program, but no matter what, I had to do 25. Whether I was sick with a fever at 102, yes, it happened. The 4th of July, I had to cheat a little bit. We didn't get home till 2 a.m, but you bet your bottom dollar I remembered. Sometimes I had to do burpees in the gym in a dark hallway so that people wouldn't see me because I was like, wait, I got to make sure I get these in. But that taught me so much about how things can get tracked and accomplished and just capitalize on what it means to be committed to something no matter what. I learned so much from this challenge. And if you want to guess how many burpees I accomplished by the end of the year, I finished on January 12th, I believe. And then I got to go back through my habit tracker and add up how many burpees I had done in total. It was 13,242. This is insane. But I will say this also. The burpee challenge, like for body composition, was the strongest I ever felt. It works so many muscle groups. I felt like I was on fire. I loved the challenge. Not a lot of people can say that, but I really liked it. So that's a long story to tell you. That's how the habit tracker got started for me. And then I started thinking, what else could I track to really gain some momentum on and even some clarity on? And so on my habit tracker, sometimes I have a book of the Bible that I'm going through and not necessarily how many minutes I'm reading the Bible, but how many verses I covered that day. I have kneeling on my knees for prayer. I started to track that just so that I could create that habit. I've also got on there a skincare program. I've even noted supplements. And when they start to become habits where I don't actually have to track them, they are now a habit. I remove them from the habit tracker. Like I didn't have to start putting supplements on there after so many months because I would remember them naturally because I paired them, which is another one of my favorite subjects, but I paired them with something. So I didn't have to put it on there. But the habit tracker will start some new things, whether they're goals or habits for you, and then sustain them because you're going to keep referring back to them. Here's a pro tip for habit trackers. Put them in a place you see frequently. Mine is actually in my closet at night because that's where I get ready for bed. That's where I grab my slippers. It's right there. It helps me to reflect on the day for just 2 to 3 minutes and fill out my habit tracker. I love it so much. Ask yourself, what 2 to 3 habits, that's all I'm saying, what 2 to 3 habits could shift your energy and your momentum if you did them consistently? What could you prove to yourself that it is possible? Maybe on your habit tracker, you put blocking 90 minutes for XYZ. Now, we just got done talking about that. You could put that in your habit tracker, and then you get to put a little X next to it when you do, in fact, block just the 90 minutes. Or you put on there practicing time blocking on these subjects, put that there, and you get to put an X next to it when you practiced it. Maybe it's health goals on there. Maybe it's prayer goals on there. Maybe it's me system, home system, family. It could be any of those. But print off the free habit tracker. You'll be so much more productive during a week. And my 5th productivity hack that I really, really, really enjoy is the sticky note system for squirrel thoughts. Okay, you guys know I'm super high energy. I no longer apologize for that. That is how the good Lord made me. It's quite contagious. But I also know that it is a gift in its own way, and it can also be a distraction. But when I have some squirrel thoughts that I think in the moment are brilliant, which by the way, they usually aren't, but in the moment I'm like, oh my gosh, this idea could really take off. But I am, let's say, time blocking in another area, then I allow myself a little sticky pad next to wherever I am to write the thought down so that I don't have to stop the thought, but I don't have to interrupt what I'm currently doing. And so this little sticky note system off to the side allows me to still have these, at the moment, brilliant squirrel thoughts, and then later reviewing like, okay, well, wasn't that great? Or, man, that was a really good idea. Let's develop it. But not interrupting what I'm currently doing so that I can stay, both my brain, my body, and everything can stay with what I'm currently doing. So my sticky note system lives next to my sewing machine, or it lives next to me while we're doing meetings on Zoom. That way, if I'm like, ooh, that was a really good thought, I'm going to write that down. Here's the thing. When we're having a staff meeting and someone says, where is the swatch for? You might as well have given me permission to go roll in fabric. Like I have the hardest time staying on task if I get to go to my fabric closet and get a swatch of fabric because that is my happy place. I just want to stay there and take a look and then talk about fabric for the rest of the time, which is not conducive to trying to get the rest of the meeting done. So I take my sticky pad and I say, okay, let me write down what fabric you are talking about and I will send you a picture later. Then I can stay in the moment, stay concentrated on what we're doing and not squirrel to the closet and stay there forever. Now, obviously that's a very niche example for myself, but where could you put a sticky notepad next to you when you're focusing on something that you were still allowed to have that beautiful imagination that you have and all those awesome squirrely thoughts that you naturally have? We don't want to stop those. We just need a place to collect them. So where could you put your sticky pad for your squirrel thoughts that you can explore a little bit later? Parking distractions keeps you in the flow. I want to stay in the flow. I just don't want to lose those squirrel thoughts. So parking them on the sticky notes allows me to keep in the flow. Ask yourself, what's your system for capturing ideas without losing momentum? Is it a sticky pad? Is it an idea notebook? Is it texting yourself or emailing yourself? I've done all of those things. I think they're all awesome ways of still collecting the amazing ideas that you have. They're not just from you. They're from a God who sees you fit to do all the wonderful things he puts in your path. You don't have to lose them, but you also don't have to lose momentum in what you're currently doing. So whether it's an email to yourself, a text to yourself, a sticky notepad, find some system to park the distractions so that you can keep in the flow. There you have it, my 5 most productive habits. Productivity is not about doing more. It's about doing what matters. These simple habits mean less mental clutter, more clarity on what you're doing right now, and even more joy because you don't have to not do things. You're time blocking, you're putting it on your habit tracker, you're allowing time to get off of work, off of that time block to go do the things that you enjoy. In 1 Corinthians 14:40, it says, "Let all things be done decently and in order." This is not to shame you. This is to encourage you. Is what you're doing being done decently and in some sort of order so that you can build momentum behind it, build it or sustain it? What could be done decently and in order to make an impact for his kingdom? Pick just one of these habits this week and try it. That's my challenge for you. That's all you got to do. Just pick one of them. Maybe it's the 90-minute block. Maybe it's just the sticky notes. Maybe you're going to start with your top 3 priorities, or maybe it's the habit tracker. Whatever you choose, will you please share it with us on Instagram, the Encourager Podcast? I'd love to see which one you chose, especially if you're doing time blocking. I will squirrel and be writing you. I'll be like, oh my gosh, tell me more. I love it so much. You don't need to do all 5 perfectly or even all 5. Progress beats perfection every single time. You can 1% it and just do one of them. You can 80% it and try all 5 of them. I would say this, for each one that you decide, whether you decide on 1 or 5, remember to allow yourself to do it for 6 weeks. Here's the thing. The first 10 days of the 6 weeks, you're like, this is absolutely unbearable. I will never make it. Like, I just, bleh. And then the 10 days after that are just uncomfortable. You're like, okay, well, now it's starting to make sense and starting to become a habit. And the 10 days after that is when you start to build momentum. So you got to make it through those first 30 days or those first 6 weeks before you give up on something. No matter if you're starting with 1 or 5, I do recommend allow yourself 6 weeks to try it. Here's why productivity matters. It allows you to focus on the things that he has gifted you with and the things that he sees you fit to do. When you can group them together, when you can make time for his people, you will see so much more peace and joy because you're in the flow of things. So practice one of these habits this week to get more in the flow so you can make a bigger impact on yourself, your families, and for his kingdom. Productivity isn't about hustle. It's about doing what matters. Until next time, encouragers, we got this because he's got us. Thanks so much for tuning in. If the Encourager Podcast has helped or encouraged you in any way, please subscribe to the show and leave a 5-star review. And then help us spread the message of encouragement and hope by sharing the podcast with others. Ready to build systems that actually fit your life and budget? The Encourager Academy is now available 1 module at a time, each just $39 and only 25 to 35 minutes per video. Choose the area you most need help in, your me, food, home, work, or family system, or dive into the mindset, priorities, and super skills that make all the difference. Each lesson is simple, actionable, and designed to help you create sustainable rhythms that bring peace, not pressure. Visit EncouragerAcademy.com to start your next small step towards harmony and joy. If you've ever wished someone could just sit with you, look at your real life, and help you make progress where it matters most, that's what my one-on-one coaching is all about. For over 10 years, I've coached women to harmonize both home and work life, not by forcing them into a program, but by designing systems that actually fit their personality, their season, and their strengths. No cookie cutters, no overwhelm, just sustainable rhythms that help you finally see traction in the areas that matter most to you. Learn more or book your free discovery call at EncouragerAcademy.com. Let's make progress together.